Well, I had to go into hiding for a day after picking Virginia.
We might need to get her on the pod.
If they go three-peat, Kev's getting a ring.
That's the same way. People are just going to be so pumped that Danny McBride's out there and promoting the game.
Welcome back. Episode 8 of the Mitchell Pelkey Lacrosse Show on TLN. Another packed episode coming to you live Wednesday morning. We're talking some of the biggest games in Division I. Maryland is just continuing to dominate. Obviously, their win over Virginia. Cornell's win over Princeton. And an interview with comedian and Hollywood star Tony Cavallero. Mitch's Mailbox Start Bench Cut. You guys know the deal. Another packed episode coming to you live. Dukes, how are we feeling on this Wednesday?
Great, Mitch. Happy to be back in the lab with you fellas. It's March Mania. You got March Madness for basketball. You got March Madness for lacrosse. No one really knows who the best 4 teams in lacrosse are right now. So it's a fun time to be a lacrosse fan. Hoagie, how are you doing?
Yeah, Hoagie, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Just keep watching the Buckeyes. Keep on winning. Keep plugging away. 8-1 now. Come on now. 3 wins against 3 wins out of 3 of the 4 Final Four teams from last year. So
look, it's the Buckeye way.
It's the Buckeye way.
As guys that are, I would still say fresh out. Look, we just know the sport, and that's kind of why Mitch and Hoagie are top 2 in pick'ems. And I just want to put that out there.
We are
We're
top
sure.
2.
Matty Ice just texted us on the side. He said, you guys are legends. That is right. We're going to get into that a little bit later. Let's go into Q1 here. First game, Maryland over UVA. It continues to reign true. Maryland is dominant. You do not mess with the Tillman iPad era. And again, to what Dukes and I have said on PelkeyCast, to what we said, I think last episode, these cats that come out of high school are top 10 picks and go into Maryland that have all this swag, then they go into this robot that just puts the ball into the back of the net. Obviously, Maryland is no different this year. General thoughts, Kev?
Well, I had to go into hiding for a day after picking Virginia. I thought back against the wall, this is it for them. And honestly, they kept it close for like 2.5 quarters, but Maryland was just too strong. Maryland is far and away best team in college lacrosse right now. They do it all so well. I think it's like a 3-pronged approach for Maryland. It's Logan McNaney in net.
Yep.
He's saving 66% right now. He's super opportunistic. After the game, John Tillman shouted out his outlet passes. They do a really good job in transition. And then third, they're super clean. They're just efficient and methodical on offense. Heading into that Virginia game, they ranked first in Division I, fewest turnovers. They're now third. They had an unusually sloppy game. And then one other thing I want to point out, they just spread it out so well. They only have one instance all year where a player has scored more than 3 goals. Eric Spanos did it against Loyola. If you look at the box score, it's always like 2-2, 2-2, 1-1. It's all spread out. You don't know where the goals are coming from.
Mm-hmm. 100%. That's what the talent is. Dukes, what's that smirk?
I need more from McCabe Millen.
Ooh.
Is it McCabe or is it surrounding?
It's a lot of things, but when you are the guy, and I think everyone came into the expectations of this year that McCabe was going to be the guy. He was going to fill the role of a Connor Schellenberger, going to fill the role of a Matt Moore, being the former number 1 recruit coming in. McCabe Millen is an amazing lacrosse player. And, we gave Chris Kavanaugh, not me, but some people were giving him shit about being a QB1 and filling into that Pat Cav role. So let's start giving McCabe a little bit of shit for not stepping up into that role. And again, he has 9 goals, 12 assists. So I'm not saying he's like a bad player or like not living up to expectations, but we were expecting a little bit of a Tewaaraton race this year with him in it. And Virginia has just completely fallen apart this year. And I'm starting to question, this season's almost done. I mean, if not almost done, it is completely done.
Yeah, Virginia's season is pretty much done. I think the only way that they're even in consideration is a 3-1 ACC regular season and then a conference championship, which there's no automatic bid, but winning those 2 games. So you'd end up 5-1 against the ACC to even be in contention. So to me, they're basically done. As for Maryland on the other side, I mean, Maryland is by far and away the best team in the country. We've seen that so far. They're balanced defensively, so great. McNaney and net, they're facing off really well. The offensive cohesion is definitely there. And I think for me, the biggest thing I see, they're not turning the ball over like we mentioned before, but also they have the ability to play kind of both styles. They can play that frantic up pace if you need them to, but they can also play that slow down grind out of a game, which I think has been one thing over the years that's allowed Maryland to be so successful, especially in a lot of their runs when they don't necessarily have the talent or the best players that so on so forth year. They're coached so well and they can adjust to different styles. Maryland's made Final Four runs as unseeded teams. They've made Final Four runs as the number 1 seed. So, Maryland moving forward is going to be a tough out because they can play any style. They face off well. They're good in the net. They have experience. And whenever you have John Tillman on the sideline, it's going to be tough to go against him. He knows when to challenge. He almost threw a challenge on a crease call the other day. I saw a video on ESPN. He sprinted to get it, and then he was like, no, took it away, didn't throw it. Like, that guy just knows what he's doing. He's a wizard on the iPad. So, Maryland finishes 3-0 against the ACC, 7-0 at a conference. They play Michigan next week in the Big Ten slate. So far they're clearing away number 1. If someone else can challenge them, I guess that'll we'll soon find out.
Yeah.
There has been a challenge. They rose up to that challenge, but they've been challenged.
They've been challenged, but I think they've been able to respond in every way. I think for me, the biggest thing seeing this weekend, this was an easy way, kind of like Kev said, for Virginia to hop out. They need this win. UVA knows, season on the line. For Maryland to come out and just go, no, 5-0 right out of the gate, shows you what type of team Maryland is. And then once Virginia did weather that storm and Klockner started to get loud and Virginia drew within 1 and drew closer, that's when Maryland continued to pull away, continued to keep the lead in front. They never flinched. They never got flustered. And that's what shows me this team can win in so many different ways. They come out prepared. They can take a punch. They can keep fighting. I think they're the complete team, clear favorites right now. And I guess moving forward, we'll see if another team like a Notre Dame could challenge them again, or a Big Ten team in that fact.
So I'm looking at Lacrosse reference right now. Just 2 things that I found very, very interesting that I wanted to point out. One, if Virginia wanted to make the NCAA tournament, they're giving them, and this is on Lacrosse reference, 4% chance to make the NCAA tournament.
Wow.
They're saying basically that if they don't get to 11 wins, there's a 63% chance that they get in, and they're giving that a 2% chance of actually happening, which I agree with. And they actually have on the ELO rankings, Virginia at number 12 ranking, which obviously is analytically based and based off of adjusted offensive and defensive efficiency. And then going back to those ELO rankings again, these are for the lax nerds out there, the lax rats. Someone like Tony Cavallero, who we're going to talk to later, lax rat. Number 1 team, according to the ELO rankings, Army.
Cinderella.
Wow.
It's all that.
Captain Cons is out there
AKA
celebrating
Fairleigh
on Twitter.
Dickinson.
Number two, Notre Dame.
Really?
Wow.
Number 3, Maryland. And then I'll round it out for the top 5. 4, Georgetown. 5, Duke. And you know what? Screw it. I'll do a little N1 because the 6 might surprise people. St. Joe's.
That's wild.
That's
I would
wow.
need to know
That's
what
wild.
goes into that ranking because I don't see any way how any of those teams that you mentioned, Notre Dame, Army, could rank above Maryland. Does it factor in strength of schedule and stuff?
Yeah, because it's adjusted efficiency. So that obviously takes into opponents. I will say, obviously, Army's defense in the competition that they face so far, they're letting up 4 or 3 goals. So they've been how could you not think that any computer ranking, any eye test would be Army has the best defense in the country this year so far.
I can't trust the computers though. March Madness yesterday, out of the computer simulations, West Virginia had it 111 out of 111 times made the tournament, missed it.
Those were humans that picked them, and we'll get back at that. I mean, that's it. Want to go off
That's
to
a whole different
Selection Sunday last night.
What's going on, Donna?
Donna was on the freaking board last night getting UNC in. Did you see this? Bubba Cunningham, the athletic director at UNC, was on the selection committee. He's the president of the selection committee, and somehow he left the room and UNC got in. Reminds you of Donna and the Ivies. Shout out to Ohio State for getting in.
Dude's gonna die on that Donna take.
I think I'm not gonna lie. Being a member of Lacrosse Media, Hoagie, while you were still a young lad in Columbus, Ohio, the Donna era was so funny. It was just a magical moment of just being what the hell is going on?
Mitch, do you
We
remember?
might need to get her on the pod.
Mitch, do you remember we met her in the elevator at championship weekend?
No.
Mitch, when was it? Was it?
She didn't even. She was in the elevator. She didn't say anything.
Yes, we did. We talked to her, Mitch. We were. This
she just
was
said, "Hey."
The year that we were seniors. So was that 2022? The year that Maryland won, or was it 2023? Yeah, 2022 or 3, whatever. It was at Rentschler Field. We were in the hotel, Mitch. We get on the elevator and we're talking to this woman. She was talking to us. And on the way out, she was like, "What's your names?" We said our names. She goes, "Oh, I'm Donna." And before that, she had said she worked for the committee. She was blah, blah. And she left the elevator. I remember looking at you and being like, "Dude, that's the woman. That's Donna." And it plugged in my head. but I guess you
Thank
don't
God
remember that.
Dukes
so.
wasn't in that elevator.
I do want to say something really quickly. The
Yeah, I
first
don't
time that I
remember
met
that.
Mitch and Hoagie, we're actually in this podcast studio that I'm in right now.
Yeah.
And I was talking to Mitch, and I'm like, "Do you know Donna?" And Mitch, I remember Mitch being like, "What are you talking about, man?"
Yeah. I had no
And I just
idea.
started going off on Donna, off on Notre Dame, be like, "You guys shouldn't have been in." And I was like, "No, you guys should have. It was more Harvard." It was just so funny, like seeing Mitch me giving him the whole Donna spiel back 3 years ago.
I was so
funny.
shocked. I was like, what is he talking about?
You're like, "What? Really? Who cares? I made the tournament."
Yeah, that's all we cared about. But no, I think the biggest thing, and it's going to just come down to like, what really matters, and that's RPI. And obviously, that year we're talking about 2022, like RPI was good, was
Mhm.
great with Ohio State. So we kind of slipped in the back door. But at the same time, like, is that going to, do you guys think the RPI aspect of Notre Dame losing to these big teams, do you think that's going to really affect them when it comes tournament time? Because it could be the same situation as 2022 where, if Ohio State and Notre Dame are on the bubble, Ohio State's getting in, and there's no question, kind of like 22, because Ohio State beat them.
Yeah, but Ohio State, I will. And look,
Yeah.
Ohio State beat Notre Dame straight up. Week 1, that loss was really bad, and that loss will keep their RPI. Like even the RPI today, Ohio State's at 15 and Notre Dame's at 7.
Yep.
So that's still like that loss is just gonna bite them. But I'll give Ohio State credit where credit's due. I think that they're going to reach the minimum wins that they're going to need to reach to make the NCAA tournament. I don't see if they miss the tournament, and I'll get this on public record. The hot seat is off for Mr. Myers.
Wow.
Hot seat's off for Mr. Myers.
Official.
If this is just what they want to be, this is who they want to be. But I will put it right back. If they somehow miss the tournament, it would be one of the greatest collapses in I think NCAA lacrosse history in recent memory. I couldn't think of a bigger one.
I think the RPI is gonna definitely hurt them a bit with that Utah loss, and it doesn't help that Utah hasn't won since that game. But I think for Ohio State, the path is pretty clear. You beat Michigan, you beat Rutgers, then you have the 3 games against Hopkins, Penn State, Maryland. You got to get one of those 3 and go 3-2. And I think if you make it to the Big Ten semis, you're in. Vice versa, if they lose those 3 and just beat Michigan and Rutgers, I think they need to make the Big Ten championship game at the very least to get in.
I love this website.
How do you guys feel about Big Ten play starting up this weekend? I mean, I think that Maryland might finally face like some challenges in the Big Ten.
100%.
Like,
I do
yeah,
too. I do too.
I think that, they're getting everyone to kind of play their style. And now they're going to be playing in the Big Ten where everyone wants to really play that style. They got Michigan this weekend. They haven't beaten Michigan since the undefeated 2022 season. They're 0-3 in the past 2 years. I think they beat them this year. But I think Penn State, I think Hopkins, Ohio State, obviously. All those teams could potentially sneak one in on Maryland.
Yeah, I think Hopkins is always a tough one with them. You're talking Michigan as well with Connery. Like, people don't know Connery was on that Maryland staff for years, so knows that ball game. Talking to guys that played on Maryland always hate playing Michigan because they just know their package. And Hopkins too, it seems like in recent years, Hopkins has had Maryland's number in the Big Ten tournament. And even Penn State, I think they beat them by 4 or 5 a couple years ago. Yeah, or 10. Yeah,
last year
last year at night. And it'll be interesting to see what happens. But if Maryland's Maryland. Like, it's hard to count them out, but at the same time, Big Ten play is different than when they play an ACC team.
And Maryland's got Penn State and
why are we talking like ACC
like
there? Why are we talking to the ACC like there's just a bunch of chumps? I mean, that was crazy disrespect to the ACC.
Well, no, I'm just saying. I think Maryland will beat an ACC team. Like, that's more confident, in my opinion, than them playing a Penn State or Hopkins.
For sure, but like they're the only Big Ten team to win national championships in the past 20 years has been Maryland.
No, 100%. But in the Big Ten tournament, it's a different story.
I agree with that. Also, I do want to say one thing. Kevin Connery, the second he said that the Big Ten is a bunch of gorillas and that these are men, these aren't like pretty boys from the ACC, has Michigan just fallen off completely? Like, I know they won the Big Ten.
He said that at the beginning of last year, and they won the Big Ten tournament.
No, they did. But I'm saying, non-conference play.
Yeah, but Michigan's never been good in out-of-conference games. In the regular season, the Big Ten, for that matter. Other than the big win against Maryland, I think 2 years ago in College Park, their whole hat has been, we've won the Big Ten tournament championship, made the NCAA tournament. Besides that, they're irrelevant.
Win over Cornell in the playoffs.
They've never even been in real serious contention for an at-large bid. It was always your season's done or win and get in. There was no in between there with Michigan.
Yeah,
right.
I'm trying to look now.
Well,
okay, no, they did. No, they did. They They beat Canisius, so they're good. They no, that's okay. So they lost to Virginia last year, lost to Harvard, lost to Notre Dame. Then they went to Big Ten play, and then this year, okay, got it. They lost to North Carolina, Duke. All right, so yeah, Harvard, Notre Dame. So yes, no, pretty boys, gorillas.
No.
Well,
And
But
I
to me,
think-
that's a difference in like ACC versus Big Ten. ACC is going to like want to run and gun, and like against
Yeah.
Michigan, they're able to get it done. And like Notre Dame couldn't do that against Maryland. They couldn't get them to play their pace that they wanted to play. So I think it's going to be different when you have a Big Ten team going against a Big Ten team. They know each other and they're going to try and play at the same pace. That Maryland Hopkins game last year was 7-5. You know? Like that could go either way easily.
I do agree with you. I just hope we can all find the humor in saying that right before you play Virginia and like you just got off the tournament thing and you're like, all right, maybe Michigan's here and they're going to arrive. And then Virginia just spanks you and you just haven't beaten an ACC team since. That's the humor.
It made great content.
It's funny. It's just objectively funny. If you're a Michigan fan, a Michigan alum, you're like, all right, no, like F you, but like that is funny.
But that's why Maryland too has been so successful is because they can play the Big Ten ball with the Big Ten teams, but they can also play the style that they play against ACC teams, and the ACC teams are not used to it as much. So I think that's another one of those reasons Maryland's had success against ACC teams, especially this year, is that slow style play those teams don't see week in, week out. Maryland can adjust to their play, but also play their own play.
So I just got the Lacrosse Reference website, by the way, so I'm addicted to it. And I did you guys a little bit of research for the Ohio State. Your magic number is 11 wins. If you get 11 wins, they said 11 wins, 87% chance to get in. 10 wins, 53%.
That's
based on
that's not that terrible. I think we could definitely do that.
That's what I said.
You're 100%. You guys have a 68% chance to get in.
That's what I said. Based on my thing, Mitch, you beat Rutgers and Michigan. Let's just say we win those. You got to win one of the three between Maryland, Hopkins, Penn State. That gets you in most likely. If you lose all those three, you got to make the Big Ten championship game. That would mean a first round Big Ten tournament win, and then beating one of those three that you didn't beat in the semi to go to the Big Ten title game. I think those are the two scenarios that you have a really good chance if you're Ohio State to get in.
Yep. No, I like it. I'm not worried. Never been, never was. On media member.
Never been, never was.
Never been, never was.
Shout out Coach Myers, by the way, hooking the boys up. Mitch, he hooked us up, sent us a little goodie box. Appreciate that.
Was that before or after?
He sent it before.
Okay.
Before, after what?
You guys became media members.
Before, we like almost like.
Look, I don't want the show to lose credibility. You know, we got to, you know.
And Coach Myers, big fan of the show. He mentioned keep killing
he's a big fan of the show.
Boys love the show. Yeah,
I think we would be surprised. I think we'd be surprised on the amount of coaches that listen in.
100%.
Really?
I think we would. I really do.
Oh my God, I just a coach
They
just
see
like
everything.
breaking his computer every time. I'm just like, yeah, they suck. I'm just like,
In no way do you get I tweeted about Dartmouth lacrosse this morning, and one of like the first 10 likes was Sean Kerwin just clicking on it. Like, what other sport do you have that where your coaches and stuff are, responding to stuff on Twitter? Imagine
Kerwin, what happened?
Imagine Andy Reid commenting on Adam Schefter's tweet. Like that would just never happen.
Yeah, that would never happen.
College football coaches a little bit online, like Lane.
Yeah, Lane Kiffin.
Yeah, Lane Kiffin's lurking. Let's talk other conferences though, real quick. Notre Dame obviously responds, to demolishing losses, and then comes back and spanks Michigan 19-7. Is there still a worry with those guys? I think the first 3 episodes were like Notre Dame is going to win it, three-peat, stamp it. Dukes, as a guy that is an Irishman,
I never sold my stock. I was like, guys, they're.
Well, you were just shaking your head there a little bit.
Dude's never had worries.
No worries. Again, I was
no worries.
They're still like a top 3 team odds wise. They lost 2 games by 1 goal. Ohio State played great. I give the Buckeyes all the credit in the world for like winning that game. They barely lost to a team that we just, for lack of better words, just sucked off for 5 minutes, saying that they. I can reword that.
Interesting. Hey now.
We were just talking about Maryland for like 5 minutes about how they're the best team in the country, and Notre Dame lost to them by 1. Like again, if Chris Kavanaugh doesn't maybe just turns around instead of trying to do the backhand twist, like Notre Dame would just be looking at the Buckeyes loss. So I don't know. They could just shake out so many different ways. Do you want to say Hoagie was talking about Michigan's defense last weekend? So if we're going to call Michigan's defense good and then Notre Dame pours 19 on them, I'd say that offense is pretty back.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
I like that.
The one thing that I really carried over was Will Angrick, I really think, is going to slowly turn into the a top 3 midfielder in the. I want to say best. I really love that guy's game. I do think he might be the
looks
most
good.
critical. He might be the most critical, important player to Notre Dame.
He's smooth. He's smooth.
Right, so
Mitch,
good.
you're talking about coaches that may or may not be watching the show. I'm wondering if Kevin Corrigan's one of them because he started Devin McClain this week, which I suggested last week. First start and a 19-point win against Michigan.
Yep, and
Pretty
he
good.
will most likely stay there.
Chris Kavanaugh did a
100%.
little more work from behind the net, 3 assists. So I know I was tough on Chris Kavanaugh in that starting attack. I love the way they looked against Michigan. And I'm with Hoagie. I thought Michigan was a good defense coming into this game, and Notre Dame cooked them. So all the credit in the world to Kavanaugh, Devin McClain, Coach Corrigan. Great win. Back on track.
Corrigan
Also-
gets
That's a good win.
Kev
Back on track
here.
for sure.
If they go 3-peat, Kev's getting a ring for fixing the offense for him after week 5.
Oh, Entenmann's gonna chirp him.
Can't
We
wait.
should just blame Miles.
Yeah.
Virginia, huh?
Miles-
Virginia, huh?
Miles, not again.
Well, let's move on. I think
I do want to shout out one
yeah.
player that I didn't chirp last week. I'm so bad at the freshman. I'm too old for this. Matt Jeffries coming out of the gate. He didn't have overall wasn't lighting up the scoreboard, but he came out of the gate and immediately got a goal, which I think was much needed for his confidence.
Yep.
Yeah, 100%. It kind of makes you wonder with what's going through these guys' heads. The amount of pressure that O'Neal and Spallina and Matt have had to go through in these past couple of years is kind of crazy. And to get your first point, it's kind of like breaking the seal a little bit. And the fact that he did it, I feel like more's going to come. So I'm excited for that. Cornell versus Princeton. I was waiting for it.
Break
I
the
was
seal. More is gonna come. All right. We still talking lacrosse?
Oh
We haven't even talked to Tony yet.
You guys are heinous. Well, more to come, obviously, with Cornell versus Princeton. Cornell 15, Princeton 10. This was a big shocker, I feel like. I feel like from our picks it wasn't, but overall, Princeton's high on a lot of people's boards, but Cornell came out firing, obviously, with the last-minute loss against Penn State last week. CJ Kirst breaks the all-time goal record. Just cool to see. Kirst family, CJ, great guy, great family. I feel like the new era Stanwick. But Cornell looks great. And, for Princeton, that's obviously a tough team, but is there really any big worries with Princeton? If you're a coach, obviously it's just hey, let's go. But I don't think there's any huge factors there.
No, there's no worries for me. Cornell and Princeton, in my mind, are the 2 best teams in the Ivy League. And
Yep, 100%.
you're not going to win every game every week, right? So for Princeton, they have 2 great wins under their belt with the ACC wins. And, they just ran into a game where Cornell came out better. Cornell came out firing. And, I love the response from Cornell after last week's complete, utter disaster and implosion. They came out and got it done, a 5-goal win at home. Kind of the way I was expecting Notre Dame to come out against Ohio State with a little bit of juice. Cornell kind of came in and reeled it in for me, which made me really, trust them moving forward. After a tough loss like that, they came back, they regrouped and got a top 3, top 5 win there. So to me, these 2 teams will probably play again in a couple weeks. 2 great teams. CJ breaks the all-time record at Cornell, which is really cool to see. Great dude off the field too. So really happy for him to have that record. But to me, this is nothing major other than 2 great teams, 2 top 10 teams playing each other, and one's got to win, one's got to lose. So they'll see each other down the road.
I think it was totally situational. If that game's played at Princeton, maybe not the week after Cornell has the epic collapse, I could see it easily going the other way around.
Yeah,
I still think
100%.
Princeton's a top 5 team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I agree.
I think Cornell's fascinating. I'm still not thrilled with their slow starts overall in the season, but they were up 12-8 on Penn State. I know Penn State was missing a lot of starters, but when you really think about it, if there's not, I don't want to call it a fluky penalty, but a 2-minute man down situation where Penn State rattles off 4 goals, it goes to overtime. We're looking at Cornell being undefeated.
Number 2 in the country. Yeah.
Right. So again, situationally, you don't know how they then go into that game if they beat Penn State. So I would agree with you that. Do want to pause though. I do love both of these teams. Princeton, to me, the reason I picked Cornell, do we know really how good is Duke? How dominant is North Carolina? I love North Carolina's game. I've been talking about them all year, but I think those 2 wins, looking back at it, might have a little bit of the Johns Hopkins effect, where really in the moment you were like, that was so impressive. I don't know how well that will overall age. I want to say I think Harvard might be a top 2 team in the Ivy.
You could definitely make the case, Dukes. I agree.
That
You
all
could definitely do a Syracuse game.
and those are going to be situational games where I think Harvard might be a bad matchup for a team like Cornell, and it might be a shootout with Princeton. I don't know, but it'll be interesting how that whole Ivy League shakes out between the 3 of them, and especially Mitch and Josiah and how much they get going over there in New Haven.
Princeton plays Harvard this weekend.
And let's also shout out Jordan Kerwin. We're talking about him, Dartmouth, number 20.
Yeah.
Wow. That's pretty cool to see what he's done. I mean, electrifying coach, a wizard of the game, obviously, as we know. But let's talk about, the PLL and the Redwoods and the trade aspect. Obviously, CJ Kirst, clear favorite for the Tewaaraton. Obviously, with kind of the change in the Redwoods right now, it doesn't bring too much change to obviously what they have in this upcoming draft. But they have the number 2 overall pick, first rounder in 2026. With CJ, if he wins Tewaaraton and comes out how we feel, there's no shot that he's the number 1 pick, right? Like, what are our general thoughts on him in the draft?
Yeah, I think at this point, it's not worth really talking about anybody else in the Tewaaraton race. Yeah. I'm more looking ahead to the PLL draft, and I'm thinking, how do I go up and get number 1 to go get CJ Kirst? Because this isn't like last year. This isn't like last year where you had, okay, if I miss Brendan O'Neill at number 1, I can get Connor Schellenberger at number 2. I think CJ Kirst is the most runaway Tewaaraton favorite since Jared Bernhardt in 2021 or Pat Spencer in 2019. Now, neither one of those guys went to the PLL. So this is your chance to go get a franchise-altering player. And if I'm the Redwoods, I'm thinking about, what do I got to package? What do I got to get? And if I'm the Water Dogs, I'm thinking, how do I drive this price up as high as I can? If I'm the Redwoods, here's my trade offer. I'm trading away the 2nd overall pick in this year's draft, a first rounder in next year's draft. And if I have to sweeten the pot even further, I'm throwing in TD Erling because I know the Water Dogs need a faceoff guy.
Yeah, I love that trade. I think for
you love all
multitude of reasons. Mitch, you got to look at this. The Redwoods are in about as dire of a position right now where the cupboard's bare. I mean, they basically need to do anything they can to get a franchise star right now. And on the flip side, for the Water Dogs, look, they're not going to trade off that spot unless they get basically anything and everything that they want. Because realistically, would the Water Dogs love CJ Kirst? Of course they would, but they don't need him. And the Redwoods need him so much that the Water Dogs can basically ask anything they want. If you're giving up TD Erlin in a league where faceoffs really don't matter that much and you can just take guys off waivers, CJ Kirst is going to be the guy whose jersey's hanging every week that the kids are all wearing. He's going to be the guy in front of the microphone. He's going to be the face of your franchise for the next 10 plus years, Mitch. You need to give up a guy even as good as TD to get whatever you can do to get CJ Kirst. The Redwoods need to do. And there's a world to me where they can give up as much as they want and the Water Dogs still say, no, we're going to take him. But yeah, nothing's too much for me, for the Redwoods, to get their franchise guy on a team that basically needs anyone they can get at this point.
I do think there is a world where there's giving up too much in the PLL. Like the drop off in talent from like the top guy to the 3rd or 4th guy is not big. Like CJ Kirst, I would take. I'm not like, this isn't a knock on CJ Kirst by any means. I don't think the Redwoods have the draft capital. I'd have to look at what their 2nd and 3rd round picks are. If I'm the Redwoods, I'm collecting draft picks right now. Like CJ Kirst is not going to fix your disaster that they have built. We've been talking about the Redwoods disaster incoming for a year or 2 now. Also, when you look at like the Lyle Thompson situation with the Cannons, one player is not going to fix the franchise. Yeah. I argued 2 years ago that the Cannons got better after getting rid of him because of things that they were able to accumulate. Now, that's not just on Lyle Thompson. That's getting a new coach. That's getting draft picks in order. But they were able to build through the draft and free agency. I don't know if you should trade everything away just for CJ Kirst.
Well, Dukes, what about a counter argument to that? I get it. The Redwoods are more than one player away. I still think you lost Rob Pannell, you lost Chris Gray. You need somebody that you can build your franchise around. I'm not saying he turns them around in year 1, but you need someone who you can build around for the next 5-10 years, and that's CJ Kirst. But what if you're a team that's only one player away? I think the Cannons were one player away, a lefty away. They've got 2 first-round picks, the number 3 pick, the number 4 pick. What if they package them, maybe another player? I think Alex Verdaro played with Mikey Sowers at Princeton, has some familiarity with Danny Sheridan, also a coach at Princeton. He's the offensive coordinator with the Water Dogs. I think that makes sense to me. If I'm the Cannons, I'm loaded with these 2 picks. I don't need 2 first rounders. I'm already on the doorstep. I keep winning champ series. How do I get that one last guy to get over the top? It's CJ Kirst, and now you have the ammo to do it. So is it different if you're the Cannons?
It's a good hypothetical. If I'm the Water Dogs though, in that situation, I think that I'm one player away. Why would I give the team that I think I'm competing with? Like, the Water Dogs aren't that far off. They lost a lot of 1-goal games last year. They were in the championship two years ago. Why wouldn't they just get CJ Kirst? Like, if you're the Water Dogs and you just give that draft pick away to a team that you think you're neck and neck with, I don't see the rationale there. I don't think that Bill Tierney is also coaching for the future. That wouldn't make sense to me at all. And also, I want to say, I think that McAsee should be the pick for the Cannons more than anything.
Yeah, I think you're right, Dukes. I think the Water Dogs are not going to trade him away to a real legit
Right.
contender. They'll be content with being like, look, we got a bag from the Redwoods, and fine. The Redwoods are still 2-3 years away from being real contenders, so they're not going to really bother us in the grand scheme of things. But yeah, I would have trouble with them trading him to a contender. But unless the Redwoods now with Joe Spallina at the helm might be waiting and say, we'll pass on Kirst this year and we'll take the other Spallina's son, Dr. Joey Spallina, the year after to run the Woods. So we'll see.
No disrespect, but maybe a little bit of disrespect. If Nat was the coach, I could see them throwing together an absolute horrendous offer for their like that would be so overpriced that they would just be giving away everything. I don't think Spallina will do that.
At the very least, Tierney should be calling. Tierney should be calling these 2 teams, knowing that they need a guy like that, but seeing what he can get.
I think, Kev, you're the one that kind of got me in. I thought the Water Dogs should definitely trade the pick. Now I'm like, get Kirst on the Water Dogs. Get him on the Dogs. At this point, no?
I mean, I guess
because also and that wasn't a shot at Nat, but Nat was definitely, if he didn't resign this year, you're going into this season and you're like, all right, well, this is my last shot. I'm doing whatever I can to get a franchise guy. I'm not worrying about the future. I'm worrying about right now. Now you got Spallina, who's worried about not necessarily right now, but the future. So it's definitely a different thought process as a GM and coach, if that makes any sense whatsoever.
All the Redwoods had to lose. All the Redwoods had to do was lose out west in overtime, or we wouldn't have had this issue. We would have just written that thing in Sharpie. CJ Kirst, first overall. It would have been. Paul would already had the ticket in his hand. We didn't even need to read it. And then now they might have to give up their whole future and some. So
like also with the Cannons at number 3, number 4, like I want to see someone like what about getting like some defense, like a Ben Ware? Could you see him at 3? Could you go get a Coulter McAsee at 4? That's building, in my opinion.
And maybe Bobby Van Buren?
Dude.
Maybe BVB?
If we're talking about people climbing up the draft boards, I don't know what necessarily he's going to do next year.
He still has 1 more year of flexibility, so we'll see.
So I was actually, just so you know, a lot of my Ohio State hate comes in from, I think it might have been your guys' senior year where Bobby transferred in next to Marcus Hudgens. And I was like, Ohio State's defense is going to be nasty. Like, they're going to be one of the best defenses in the country. And you guys sucked so bad. And I looked at so fool. I was just like, screw this team. I hate Nick Myers so much. And I was
this guy.
Yeah, no,
this guy's a clown.
It's back. It's an ego thing. I was so mad. But let me tell you, I was even out on BVB. This guy is an animal. This guy is an absolute beast. I think everyone was talking about Brendan Lavelle being the best defender in the country, which is not true. It's still Sean Light. But I want to put Bobby Van Buren right there.
Dude, quick question before we go on to the next segment. If you could have 10 dodges on Bobby Van Buren, do you think you would get past him literally one time?
Yes. Can I tell you what I do?
What would you do?
I throw the ball at his nuts. I know that guy's not going to cup. Pick up the ground ball.
Fun fact, not a lot of Division I players wear cups. I'm pretty sure the only guy on our team to wear a cup were the goalies. We're going to segue right into overtime games this past week. I mean, what an absurd slate for overtime games. 5 overtime games, obviously heading it off with the Duke over Richmond, which we probably weren't expecting, and then going into the Towson versus Delaware game, 1918, Sacred Heart over Siena, Marquette over Utah, Hofstra over Stony Brook, and Duke over Richmond. Shout out Mikey Weishauer. I was on field at the Backyard Bar on the track watching that game live. Electric atmosphere, Towson versus Delaware, never disappoints. Were we surprised on Duke versus Richmond?
Wait, hold on. Shout out the Sacred Heart kid, by the way, for hitting the dead fish after the game.
Yeah, that was a little fight breakout too.
Yeah, a little fight afterwards. He tried to replicate the Ryder Garnsey. He took the helmet off, dead fish. You know, Siena players aren't going to like it naturally, a little scuffle, but makes a good clip. So
yeah, 100%. 100%. You know, Kev, I wanted you to hit on this real quick. Duke, what are your thoughts of them? Like, what's even to think about those guys?
Honestly, I feel like early on we were kind of like waiting for them to come along. I feel like they're hitting their stride now. They're a dangerous team. They're tied
Yeah.
for the most wins in D1 right now. They only have one loss. Their one loss is to Princeton, and it was by
Yep.
one goal. I think they're finding their rhythm with their personnel too. Max Sloat, they moved him to attack against Providence. Last 2 games, he's got 11 points. Graham Blake is performing off the bench. He's got 6 goals in the last 2 games. And I know it's Richmond, and I know that maybe people are expecting historically Duke to maybe not go to overtime with them, double overtime, but Richmond's really good this year. Going at Richmond, we saw Cornell struggle at Richmond. We saw Richmond beat UVA earlier this year. I think that's a quality win. Going to Richmond and winning on the road, plus they scored 13 goals. That's the most goals Richmond has given up all year, so that tells me Duke's offense is legit. And the biggest thing is, they haven't even had to like call on McAdory to be the hero, except for the Michigan game. That's the only game where they've really had to call on McAdory to lift up the team. It's been all their other guys. So I like Duke.
Yeah. I'm going off what Kev said right now. The one game that I really was disgusted by Duke, and I was like, oh, that like they really don't look good, is the Michigan game, and they found a way to win.
Yeah,
The Princeton
100%.
game was one of the best games I watched all year. And besides that, like I completely agree. I think Richmond is at this point in time is just a really, really good mid-major. And I want to say the same thing about St. Joe's.
Yeah. I just think the biggest concern is like, how many more 1-goal wins can they have? And what does that really say about a team? It's kind of similar with Hopkins right now.
No, I agree. I think the thing
they've only had one.
Win's a win.
Yeah, but the thing from Duke that I've been waiting like week in and week out to be like, they're not a legit championship weekend contender. Like they're not clicking, like stuff's not working, blah, blah, blah. And they're just doing everything that Duke normally doesn't do, which they haven't dropped any of these February, March games so far, other than to Princeton, who's a top 5 team. Like in years past, we'd be talking like this, but they would have dropped the, Providence game or dropped the Richmond game this past weekend. So they're doing everything that normal Duke teams do, but they're not dropping those games. So they're starting to really, in my head, I'm starting to really be a believer in Duke. I don't know how elite they are in terms of like being at the top for like a national championship team. Like, I don't know how they'd fare against a Maryland. I guess we'll see Notre Dame down the line. But, Duke, like Kev said, like Duke said, they're hitting their stride. They're playing well. They're finding ways to win in close games. So I'm really excited to see how Duke plays moving forward, especially in that ACC slate. The Carolina game is going to be awesome. Notre Dame game is going to be awesome. Syracuse, so much good lacrosse. So I was ready to say they're not a championship weekend team, but I don't know. I'm starting to turn. I think they're pretty good. I think they're flying under the radar.
I think they're getting better.
I actually have a take that I think I trust them more this year than I do last year.
I agree. Yeah.
McAdory, I love his game.
Eric Maliver, too, has really stepped up for them.
I told you he looks so much swaggier at Duke than Maryland. Also, Aiden McGuire is, I think, I think he might be my favorite player just to watch in the country.
Yeah, he's a dog.
He looks good. I'm putting lock for the Olympics.
4 caused turnovers, 4 GBs.
Can I do that? Can I put another one?
Overtime.
I'm just obsessed with locking.
Another lock.
It is
3 years down the road.
It is crazy.
Dude, this guy is an unbelievable athlete. He's the best.
100%.
I think he might be the best athlete in Division I men's lacrosse.
Yeah.
And like Duke said, shout out to Richmond too. There's a literal world where they could have been 3-0 right now against Virginia, Duke, and Cornell. Like they're a couple plays away from being top 3 in the country right now. Top 3 with basically an at-large bid secured as long as they don't completely crap their pants down the line. Which
they would have been 1A
wild.
Cinderella. They would have been the 1A Cinderella.
That is a Cinderella, and they're going to be a tough out. If they win the A10, I know they have St. Joe's a challenge, and we're not even talking about UMass either, who's in the top 20. So the A10 is a sneaky underrated conference.
A10 is a great conference, and that is one thing. The A10 and the Patriot League are both 2 conferences that why I want to expand. St. Joe's and Richmond should both be in the tournament. Army and probably another Patriot League team, whoever comes in like second, should also probably be in the tournament. And that's why I want this tournament to expand.
And the A10's adding Delaware too next year. So you'll have Delaware, UMass, Joe's, and Richmond. So
who do you like this weekend?
Off the top of your head, who do you like this week? Richmond plays Georgetown. I feel like
I'm taking Richmond. I'm taking Richmond.
Right.
I'm not sold on Georgetown. I feel like Georgetown every year like really doesn't win the big games at a conference and then kind of skates by, wins the Big East, and then as Duke says, loses in the quarterfinals. So
I said in the beginning of the year, and I'm gonna until I see otherwise right now. I really think that the year you think you're gonna get down on Georgetown is the year they somehow just sneak in. I got to see their matchup in the tournament, but I might go all in on the Hoyas.
Really?
I might. How funny would that be? Like when they were transfer you got Dordovic coming from the Dome to the Hoyas. You got Graham Bundy last year. You know, they upset Notre Dame. You get the rematch with Notre Dame at in the quarterfinals. Notre Dame blows the doors off them. I mean,
Yeah.
it was way worse on paper, like watching the game than it was on paper. Because anyone remembers watching that, Graham Bundy. If Liam Entenmann, best goalie of all time, but if Graham Bundy shot at him every single day, we'd be looking at Liam Entenmann playing like peewee ball. I mean,
Like, what
And if that was a PLL game, those would have been all 2-pointers. They might
Yeah.
have come back and won it.
Right, exactly.
What wins does Georgetown have right now, by the way? They lost to Hopkins and Notre Dame. If they drop this Richmond game, like, obviously they're going to have to win the Big East and get in, but
They got Loyola, they got Brown, they got Albany, they got High Point, they got Penn. So the Penn holds weight. They lost to
Yeah, a
Notre
little
Dame by
bit.
2, and then they got the Hopkins loss.
I mean, the Big East looks like a one-bid league with Denver. Has no chance in it at large, so.
I'm obsessed with this website right now, but it looks like it's going to get 2 if everything goes out.
You think?
How it shakes.
No
Yeah,
way. It's going to be just the champion. There's no way Denver can sneak in at large unless Denver wins it.
Look, I didn't come up with the formula. I'm just telling you what the nerds say.
I think,
He's not a stats guy.
Big
He's
East
not
a
a
one-bid
stats
league.
guy.
Big East a one-bid
Georgetown's
league.
won like 6 Big East championships in a row too. So
Yeah, they have.
I think you can pencil.
I also think that Denver's not going to get in.
No,
No.
Denver's done.
Well,
Providence.
good segue. Good
Providence.
segue. Ohio State did a little smackdown raw on them, 15-11 out west. Buckeyes 8 wins in a row. They look good. How about Ari Allen with the IMG football hit, and then Tasty coming in? 30 seconds late. I could just see it right now. Nick Myers, neck vein and everything, yelling at Tasty. That's
How
not
did he get
Buckeye
there
ball.
that fast?
Palks, you know who ripped
Literally.
Tasty? You know who ripped Tasty out of the pile?
Was it Carp?
It was Seth.
Seth, our athletic trainer, ripping our goalie out of the fight.
Seth came over and pulled him to the side, Mitch, towel in one hand. Shout out Seth, he's a legend.
God, I want you guys
trainers
to,
out
I'm going to try to take you inside the film room at Ohio State probably today. Nick Myers was just probably screaming at the guys because this is not Buckeye ball, and it's not. We've never been in a fight in our 4 years at Ohio State, and I love to see it right now. And I thought it was a clean hit, maybe a little bit high. I might be a homer, but then you got
Seth,
Tasty
Mitch, look at the
coming in.
screen. There's Seth pushing him away. Look.
Like it's Seth, our trainer coming in to save the day. What a legend. But Buckeyes with a W. Blue Jays, Blue Jays, sneak past Navy with that, sneaky at night game down in Annapolis. Navy actually won that game last year, so it was interesting to see.
I thought they were going to pull off the upset 2
I
years
think
in a row.
big key. Hopkins has made a goalie change. They had Orange Linus in net that week, over 60%. Former Ohio State guy. He was a freshman when me and Mitch were seniors at Ohio State. Transferred to Hopkins. I don't know if that's a 1 week thing, if that's a permanent thing moving forward. So, I also love the Navy gold uniforms. Those are some of my favorite uniforms.
Those are swaggy.
And the color on color, like the gold on the blue, so sick. So
Looks
We
good.
love
Looks
color
good.
rush.
I mean, Charlie, I said it last episode, Charlie Eiler really is, I think, the piece that moves it going forward for Hopkins. He's nasty.
Yeah,
You
he's
were right.
good.
You called that. You were on that early, and you're
Yeah.
right. They found a way to keep him in the lineup when Melendez was back, and he outshined Melendez.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Was that a hurt or injured thing? Like, is he banged up playing, or obviously like a little bit, but was he fully
No, it's
healthy?
Big Ten
Melendez was-
volleyball.
I mean, he was healthy enough to play.
Yo, okay.
That's all it is.
Can we get this out of the way? Hopkins does not count for Big Ten volleyball, does it?
yeah, Hopkins
No.
plays
You
Big
guys
Ten
play
brand
them?
ball. Yeah, they do.
Collison will pull like a
I knew
Miles
you were
Jones
gonna say
ECD Greg on you.
going to say that. You're so annoying. I knew you're going to bring up the freaking 6'5" guy that plays midfield bullies people.
What about Garrett Degnan the last couple of years?
For sure. But all I'm thinking, you're telling me, just compliment the guy, but Charlie Eiler's not playing Big Ten bully ball.
Yeah,
I
feel
would
like
still pick
Hopkins is
Hunter
a
Shaw.
little different.
I would still pick Hunter Shawvet in a fight between you two.
Us two?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I'd also take him to kick your ass.
No way.
Yes,
Are you
would.
serious?
You'd eat your lunch, brother.
God.
When the
I love
Buckeyes
that.
come,
I love that.
yeah, maybe we can get that. Well,
Let's keep it rolling. Let's keep it rolling.
Let's get that Ohio State jersey out for a Chauvet, huh?
I'll break the glass right now and put it on. Harvard beats Yale, which was a big shock in my book. Still, 14-11. Towson beats Delaware. Shout out Nads and Mikey Weissauer. Pelkinator made a little appearance at the backyard down in Towson. Having a couple adult beverages with the fellas after a post-CAA rivalry win. Shout out intern Dunk. UMass beats Rutgers 11-7. Is there any words for Rutgers?
Rutgers is horrible. They're really
Carden
bad.
Stoller is a legend, but I don't know what's going on down there. And what about the Mustang
I swear,
Classic?
Hoagie puts that Hoagie puts the Rutgers game in the lineup in the rundown every time just for a chance to say Rutgers is horrible.
Well, they lose. They have a loss.
Hey, to not have the worst Big Ten team is a swag.
Yeah.
Is that the standard now?
No, it's not the standard, but we just know where you're going, Dukes. We can read your mind.
No, I wasn't going to say anything. I was actually going somewhere else. Want me to go there?
Where are we gonna go?
I'll go there. Look, Scotty Royster, friend of the program. Love that guy. He started coaching club lacrosse at Rutgers, and all of a sudden the program dies. Like, are we blaming Scotty at all?
I think the club program is doing well. I think they should hire Scotty to be the head coach.
That's where I go. Did the club team steal the superpowers of what Rutgers once had?
Wow.
Maybe.
I mean,
Like,
maybe
the club program's stealing all the juice. Now, Scotty, a huge Rutgers fan, does he now leave the club program for either the coaching job for the
I'll tell
D1
you what,
program?
one of the most annoying things in the country.
I'm asking questions.
Rutgers plays that goal horn, Mitch. I mean, that thing is just, every goal. It's like
Dayton plays that too, I think. Next game, Mustang Classic. 10 games, 2 days, D3 Grit. You got Tufts, number 3 RIT, number 4 CNU down there in Southern Virginia. This is something I kind of wish I went to, but had other plans, something I will hopefully make some content about here in the future. There needs to be something like this for Division I. Just imagine a Mustang Classic in Division I. Like, I think you would sell out arenas, but unreal. And I think it would be interesting. But let's kind of finish off Q1 here in lacrosse as a whole. Obviously talked about college. Let's hit on PLL real quick. Last week we didn't really talk about Rob Pannell. Now Whipsnakes guy. Went from Hoagie's team to Pelkey's team. How beneficial do you think that is for the Whipsnakes? And let's talk on RP3's career as a whole. This is what? Is this like year 15 for him?
It's up there. He's been playing for a while.
He played college for a while.
In fact, I'm looking at if Rob Pannell and Matt Rambo are the two like main righty-lefty Dodgers, that's some old legs carrying.
And you know what it is? It's an interesting play by Stags because if you remember, they cut Will Manny because of TJ Malone. And they just said, hey, we want to get younger down there. And then they add RP3. So it's kind of like, what are we doing? Like, are we biting our own words?
And they traded, I know he's hurt right now in the NLL, but they traded away Zed Williams. Like, I don't know. Like, little questionable. I'm looking at TJ Malone, and I'm wondering how much they're going to let him cook because he's the young gun there, and he's the reigning rookie of the year. But he was getting those number 3 matchups. I'm curious how defenders will attach that lineup.
Yeah,
no, 100%.
I trust Stags. I think he knows how to build teams, and I think he's going to find a way to Pannell to fit in perfectly. This is probably Pannell's last season. I know he hasn't said that, but there's rumors he was going to retire after this year. So he signed a 1-year deal. You think this is probably a last ride kind of thing, one more thing to go out and get a ring. So joining the Whipsnakes, that a team that was in the championship game last year. So let's see if Pannell was that one missing piece that can kind of push them over the edge. I guess we shall see, but
it'll be interesting. I think it's all going to depend on how this season obviously goes for him. If he lights it up, I could see him just continuing to come back.
I don't know why this is like Melo and OKC. This is like the old guy that doesn't fit into a jersey, and you're going to look back and be like, why was he on this team? This doesn't make.
He's got stuff in him.
I
truly do.
This doesn't make any sense to me. I loved what the Whipsnakes were doing. I hate their off season.
Dude,
I truly do not understand this in the slightest. I think Rob Pannell's best days are way behind him. Do I think he could be like a good role player? Sure. Like coming out of the box, maybe. But this just doesn't make any sense. Rob Pannell's not going to come out of the box. I don't think the Whipsnakes got any better by any means.
You don't think Stags has some type of plan up his sleeve? I feel like he wouldn't have brought him.
You don't doubt that guy.
100%. He's a way better lacrosse coach than me. But I bet
that's going to make us.
He can't podcast like me.
for when Rob Pannell goes off this year. And that intro is Duke saying, I don't see it.
I mean, unless again, do you think that sure, he's going to he'll have 4-goal games. He'll have 4-point games, but do you think they're going to win the championship because of this move? That's what I'm saying.
You never know.
This doesn't take them. This does not take them across the line for me.
It's kind of like a Rick Pitino situation.
I don't know, man. This doesn't make any any sense to me whatsoever.
Well, we'll see. I mean, obviously with the news on the Redwoods sides, RP3's gone, and so is their head coach, Nat Saint. So then they hired Joe Spallina, the legend, rocking the mustache, probably one of the best-looking Italian guys in Division I lacrosse as a whole. And now he's the GM of the Redwoods. And it's going to be interesting. I'm guessing Joe and cats at the league are going to make the final pick for the head coach of the Redwoods. I don't even know who's in contention right now, but I know Joe. I know his spirit. Filmed with him a ton. Talked to him a lot in person. Great guy. I truly think the Redwoods are back with that call. I love the way he coaches, and I'm a big believer in him and obviously the last name, and you obviously seen what Joey's doing at Syracuse this year. So I'm excited, and I think that was a right move, and we'll kind of see who this head coach hire is, and Joe's obviously making that call.
Nailed it.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
I think, one name I would like to see some of the former MLL coaches come back, like Mariano or somebody like that. I think there's a lot of golden eggs that down there that know how to coach professional players.
Yeah. And Hoagie, your initial thoughts, obviously, as the only Redwoods fan on the show.
As the lone Redwoods guy on the show. Well, first off, thanks to Coach Nat. He's been our coach since the beginning. So awesome guy on and off the field. But I love the hiring of Joe Spallina for me personally. Growing up, going all those Long Island Lizards games, he had those Lizards teams at peak. They were playing well. He knows how to build a roster together and all the stuff he's done with 91, all that stuff. Like Joe is going to be awesome to put that team together. Added today, Denenza already, and
great move.
What's his name?
Yeah, huge move.
Denenza's so good.
Yeah, so they're going to be fine there. I think for me,
BU kid.
Yeah. What's
it's
his
okay.
name?
We'll learn it this. We'll learn it this summer.
Oh, Vince D'Alto. They added Vince D'Alto. Sorry. Yeah.
Slinger.
So Joe Spallina is going to put this team together well, in my opinion. I think for the head coaching spot, I'd love to see Brody Merrill kind of get that nod. He's done a great job.
Yeah, I saw that on the
Hill
Twit.
Academy. I tweeted that I wanted him. I said, first call, get that done. And Wes Berg, one of the prominent players in the Redwoods, retweeted that. So I think Wes Berg wants Brody Merrill up there too. So we could see that moving forward. But, it's going to be interesting for the Redwoods. As a guy who's been a fan with them since day one, it's going to be interesting because the whole team's kind of revamped now from no more Troutner, Greg Renly, and Kyle Harrison, Landis, Sexton. Like that whole team is gone, and now Nat. So starting fresh from the top, but I love the future that they have. I'm excited to see them kind of start from the ground up, and I don't think there's a better GM in the country and in the league that you can have than Joe Spallina to build it right. So
that was my first team.
We need Joe Spallina on the podcast next week. We got to ask him about the trade talk.
Yeah, we have to.
I tweeted out right after the news was on, or right after the news went out, I tweeted out, like, with the first pick in the 2026 draft, the Redwoods select, and it's a picture of Joey Spallina doing his Syracuse announcement. Joe Spallina liked the tweet, so I know he's already thinking there.
Yeah, he might be watching this episode, Joe. We're coming to you next week, so get ready. We're going to shoot you a text. What do you got?
I want to say this about Rob Pannell. Rob Pannell is also going to try to break the record. Like, I think the main reason he didn't retire is obviously to chase a ring and to break the all-time points record in the professional lacrosse ranks. Now, here's what I want to see this summer. Once Rob Pannell breaks it, there might be some injuries, banged up people in the summer. Let's get Paulie Raves back in there, and let's have it as a points race.
We didn't see the run he had.
The rest of the season. How great would that be?
I would love that.
If Paul
Dr.
just
Raves came back.
Paul just played for like the last 4 games of the season, and he's like, "Let's just do this."
It would be
awesome.
legit. I think everyone
we were
would
meant to do this forever. Yeah,
I love that. Well, I think obviously
some people would hate it.
It definitely increases the Redwood stock, in my opinion, for the draft. For you guys out there, the draft is coming early May, so stay tuned for that. We might have something special planned, but I think the Redwood stock definitely elevated the resume that he's built at Stony Brook on the women's side, and obviously the Lizards on the MLL side has definitely been what people have been thinking about. But I think that really wraps up lacrosse aspect. Now we have a sick interview with Tony Cavallero, Hollywood legend, played lacrosse at VMI. We're going to get right into it. Let's do it. We got Tony Cavallero on set. Clap it up all the way out west. Probably the biggest star on the Mitchell Pelkey Lacrosse Show we've had yet. Tone. His name is Tone Zone right now here on our call. I'm excited to get it going. Give the fans a little background, who you are, how'd you pick up the lacrosse? What's the correlation?
Hey, everyone. Big fan of the pod, Mitch.
There we
Just
go.
Big fan
Love
of what
that.
you're doing for the sport in general.
I appreciate that.
Dude, I was just a little fat kid who saw some wall ball in 5th, 6th grade, and then my brother ended up We grew up in the Northern Virginia area, played at Annandale High School. Yeah, man, I was their little fat ball boy when they went 17-0 and won the state championship in 1997.
Bang.
And
And that's where it all
so,
starts.
dude, I was stuck, bro. I was bitten by the bug early, and the next thing you know, I'm going to see the Baltimore Thunder and there was a Washington team for a minute, but dude, yeah, I was addicted from the get-go, man. So I started off playing youth ball for BRYC, Braddock Road Youth Club, which will be familiar to all those
Yep.
Nova DMV cats. And then yeah, man, played all through high school. Was really lucky. My brother was a senior. I was a freshman at Annandale. I was able to play up on varsity my freshman year. And you know, that only got me more pumped for the sport. And dude, I just you know, just like a dream of making it in Hollywood, I dreamed of playing D1 lacrosse, and VMI came a calling, baby.
The cadets, I love that. Well, the fans don't know this actually, and I don't know if you do, but I actually grew up in Northern Virginia myself. Leesburg, born and raised, Riverside High School. They're a new school. You haven't heard about them, but Annandale, we would wax Annandale. I just want to get that out there in the front. They probably weren't like they were back when you were playing, but Annandale, born and raised. You obviously went to VMI. What was your time like at VMI? The cadets, you know, we look at that school as potentially one of the grittiest Division I lacrosse schools in the nation. Did it really kind of prep you for Hollywood?
You know, I like to say that I acted as a military cadet for 4 years. So, you know, it gave me, well, I'll tell you one thing, dude, and this is like, you know, I won't say there's a lack of discipline in Hollywood, but you can count on me when I get hired. You know, if I got a 4 a.m. call time, no big deal, dude. I used to get the crap beat out of me and have an hour of sleep and have to show up for formation, shaved, shoes shine, brass, you know, my brass had to be a freaking mirror for the officer inspecting me every morning. So, you know, there's a certain discipline and quality that you get from a military school guy that you don't see super often out here in Hollywood.
No, 100%. And obviously VMI this year, 2-6 record, looking pretty good. Do you still keep in track with the boys? Do you still watch lacrosse?
6-2, Mitch. 6-2.
6-2. 6-2.
Come on now,
it's all right. I know Mitch is throwing me under the bus here. We waxed Annandale. We're just gonna zoom
had to have a little jab in there.
Don't worry, Tony. He went to a made-up high school.
Yeah. Mitch went last 30 seconds on drill field too.
I'm just like, how many state championships does Leesburg have?
3. It's okay.
What's your squat right now, dude? That's what I really
graduated 2 years ago, so I don't even think it's a soft number.
All right. And what did you place in state for wrestling?
Nothing.
What other sports did you play in addition to lacrosse?
I played YouTube. That was really it.
Great. I'm not digging in, dude, but I'm a specimen at 41.
I love that.
Oh yeah, dude. VMI, man, I'm so excited. I'm still very excited, but of course they have their first NEC matchup this last weekend, and they lose by a goal. Their 2 losses have both been by a goal. High Point, I mean, I was like, I'm pumped. And the cool thing about this, dude, is, and I'm sure you saw this little clip, they got a stud there, Luke Restorucci, who's got like a bunch of goals. I know he was like number 1 in the country for a minute. But his dad, I think this is how it worked. His dad like DM'd me 4 years ago and was like, hey, my son's thinking about VMI. I'd love to get your input. And like, I had a phone call with him before he went to VMI. He wanted to know all about it. And I was like, dude, I don't know. I don't have any regrets, but VMI's nuts. Like, you have to have a screw loose in order to go there. It is like the road less traveled. You have to be a nut to go to VMI or any of the service academies or military schools. Like, you're not getting the college experience. It's, you know, it's just like, if you haven't been there and seen what you go through, it's totally bananas. And
No, 100%.
And dude, the kid stuck with it. He's a senior and he's just crushing it and leading this team to what might be their best season of all time, which is really cool.
100%. Before I let Hoagie kind of take it away, I might be going down there and making a full video on the boys, just really showing off the grit. What's one thing that you can remember that maybe you want me to show off to the public?
About VMI? I mean, I just say in general, dude, the service academies or military school is like, you're just talking about like, you know, these guys, like I said before, you've got formation at whatever, 6 or 7 a.m. every morning. You're getting inspected. You've got your classes. You've got your meals where you have to be in formation. It's just, you don't get any time to sit back and watch YouTube or play PlayStation or whatever. Like, it's few and far between. You can't go back to your room and take a nap. You can't sleep in.
Yep.
Like, there's none of that stuff, man. Like, you don't get any of that, you know? And so for these guys, for me, what I found at VMI, like, lacrosse was the thing I looked forward to the most. That was like, oh dear God, get me away from all of this stuff and let me go out on the field and do the thing that I love to do. And I feel like that's what's really special, is like, our coach really made it a thing, like, never to take lacrosse for granted. He's like, 4 years, that's it, dudes. That's how long you get to do this thing at this level. It'll never be this way ever again. And like, I mean, to like escape that military structure, dude, I used to like sneak down to the lacrosse locker room and like watch old VHS tapes of like Hughes in Virginia in the 90s. You know what I mean? And so it's just a special breed of guy that goes there and plays there. And that goes for Navy and Army and Norwich and Merchant Marine, Coast Guard Academy, all those cats, and Air Force, you know, all of those spots.
Yeah, those VMI guys are gritty. I played at Manhattan last year for my grad year, and we played VMI. They were tough. They were strong. Came out with an 8-7 win, luckily, but they were good. So, Tony, thanks for hopping on. I got a quick question here for you. Which Hollywood actor do you think would be the best at lacrosse?
Ooh, that's a good question, man. Because the thing is, and what I love about this game so much is like, you know, dude, I'm like 5'9" on a good day, you know, like VMI always had me at like 5'11", 200, but like, you know what I mean? Like, you don't have to be, look at Mikey Powell, man. You don't have to be a giant to be good at this sport. And so for me, it would just be like, you know, I had the hustle factor, you know, I was a face-off guy, you know, ground balls, you know, so it'd have to be that hustle factor. That's a good question, man. I mean, honestly, dude, I think Adam would have been a great lacrosse player, and he's said as much, dude. He's like, man, I wish they had that at my school, you know, because, you know, he's one of those dudes that shows up with me at the gym and it's like, all right, dude, what are we doing today? And like, will not stop. Like, bro, this is too much weight for you. And he'll be like, no, it's not. And I'll be like, all right, I guess I'm spotting you for all of these sets, even though he is stronger than, yes, sick, dude. That photo's sick. We're absolutely dick skin shredded this season.
Yeah.
If you guys haven't heard dick skin yet, that's
that's a new one. Yeah, I like that. I haven't heard that.
Yeah, I've got that from a bodybuilder. He was like, "Oh, dude, you're so fucking peeled right now." Like, oh, thanks, man. Dick skin tight. I was like, "Whoa, okay." We're gonna have to edit this out.
No.
This is raw. This has got to be raw.
It's raw. Okay. Well, shit.
Tony, I know that Peter Dante, he played lacrosse at Hofstra, right?
Yes.
So
yes,
if
he
you
did.
guys, so if we're going back to summer lacrosse, Braveheart, 1-on-1, you versus Peter Dante, who's winning that one? You taking your hustle?
That's a good question, man. I think just because I was strictly a face-off guy, I think I'm gonna do an old school Alex Smith plunger, pop it out in front, But then I'll probably do something dumb. I'd try to do like a behind the back on the goalie and he'll save it. And then Peter will have a chance on the other end and
I
probably
love it.
win.
I
Hey,
love
but
it.
dude, I'll take my humble pie all day, dude. If I'm out there swinging a stick around at 41, awesome. Beat me up. Cool.
Hey, just for what it's worth, Hoagie over there, he's a face-off guy at Ohio State in Manhattan. I'll take you over him legitimately any day of the week. I don't think he's keeping up with you on the field.
Tony, what head were we using back in the day? You have the OG blade?
You know exactly what I'm going to say, dude.
I remember when I was younger, I used to try and like scour eBay to get one of those because everyone like wanted one of the OG blades.
I got 4 at home, bro. I got 4.
Oh my god!
All strung up.
It's one of those you just keep saving. It's just the price on those are going to continue to increase.
You keep those for years and years.
Yeah, dude. Well, this was so cool, man. I'm like, so VMI, dude. We went 0-12 my sophomore year. I mean, we weren't on anyone's radar, but my high school friend's dad was best friends with Jesse Hubbard's dad. And so I would work Jesse Hubbard's camps all summer long, and he was high up at Warrior. And I'll never forget, he was like, "What do you want, dude?" And I was like, some heads would be cool. And he sent me 8 blades. And I remember being at like VMI and getting like 8 blades in the mail and being like, "This is the coolest thing of all time." Like I saw you opening your Ohio State care package, bitch, and I was like, "Oh, what a jerk, dude." I had like
this doesn't compare to the 8 blades.
Bro, I had like the dumbest like gold VMI shorts from like 88. Is like I was like found him in an old dumpster bin in the locker room, and I was like, awesome. They were by like York or some bike. Yeah. They were bike.
They weighed like 10 pounds to all mesh.
Oh God, yeah.
Tony, so there was obviously a clip last week that came out. It was on actually the Lacrosse Network, Theo Vaughn's podcast with Danny McBride, and he said that you helped set his son up to get into the right summer lacrosse programs. Is that correct?
Yeah, dude. So it's funny because when I was there, I think his wife had told me that he was possibly interested in something lacrosse, and I was like, I will hook him up. I will do whatever it takes to get him into lacrosse. And she was like, okay. And then I feel like, I don't know, 2 months ago or something, Danny reached out to me and was like, "Hey, so I think he's a little pumped on lacrosse. Could you help us out?" So yeah, I hooked him up with one of my club teammates out there in Charleston. One of my buddies that plays on the Hurricanes, the Charleston Hurricanes with us. And they have a super program, man, a super youth program out there. And I play club out there with a great group of guys. We always go to we'll go up to Greensboro and play, and then I always hit the Asheville tournament and play, and starting to get a little aged out. I think I'm going to start playing in the 40 plus, but it's a blast, man. And you know, anybody that's passionate about the game, I get pumped on. And again, I think it takes like, we're a unique group of guys, and it's such a small world. I love how pumped they are on the sport, man. I can't wait to be back out there passing the ball in the front yard with them.
Did you have to like warn Danny about anything about the summer lacrosse circuit? Because obviously some of the lacrosse dads could be a little intense out there. Did you have to like warn Danny about any lacrosse dads, or what type of lacrosse dad could you see Danny being?
Well, it's funny, dude. Danny, although he plays the most crass dickwads on screen, he couldn't be like, he's like just a normal, nice dad. Like if you were to approach him, he'd be like, "What's up, man? Great to meet you." Photo, like anybody that, runs into him is just like, dude, as advertised, that guy couldn't be nicer. And that's the thing. It's like, that's just who he is. And so like, I don't think he's down for the drama,
right?
Because he's just such a nice guy. And I think anybody, but well, it's funny, dude. Sometimes I'll play in these tournaments, and I played in Tahoe, like, I don't know, like 2 years ago. And I remember there was a game where it was like tied up, and they had a good little shooter on their team, and he waxed me, dude. He one little move and he was right by me. And we had like 30 seconds left, and he was one-on-one with the goalie. So I was like, all right, well, I got to do what I got to do. Smart lacrosse play. And so like I hugged him, like basically tackled the kid. And he was
The
like,
Asher Knowlting.
oh,
Yeah.
dude. And he was all like, what the heck, man? What the heck? And then we won the game. And I think some of his teammates, you know, were like, dude, that's the dude from Gemstones, man. And I was like, hey, I went up to him after the game. He's like, no worries, dude. I'm sorry I lost my cool out there. Sorry about that. It was like, how quickly it turned around, you know. And again, it was just trying to make a smart play to win the game. And I think, you know, that's the same way people are just going to be so pumped that Danny McBride's out there and promoting the game, and already, dude, just putting it on a platform like he
For
did.
sure.
It's so cool for the sport.
I know Kenny Powers is one of my favorite television characters of all time. He's a baseball guy, so I want to see Kenny Powers on the lacrosse field. I feel like we got to get Danny somehow, and maybe a Mitchell Pelkey YouTube video as Kenny Powers out in the lacrosse
Yeah,
field.
who do
We
you
can
guys
make it
think-
happen.
who if we were to categorize any player of all time into that Kenny Powers world, who would you guys pick?
Maybe
tough,
Nicky
right?
Blanco? No.
I mean, I would say, like, even though he
Spallina?
was very soft-spoken, Mikey Powell did some insane showboaty
Yeah.
stuff
Yeah.
on the field.
Like a front flip during the game, a real
Yeah, it's
game.
insane.
That's Kenny
Insane.
Powers' move.
Insane. Insanity, dude.
Who was your favorite player growing up?
Oof. I mean, dude, obviously the Gate brothers were amazing, and they were a little like past my time, but like I got to see them play when I went to see the Thunder. Paul Gate was playing for the Thunder, and so was Jesse Hubbard. So I got to see them play live indoor. That Princeton squad, dude, I think I went to see Final Four in '98 in Baltimore. That attack
bank.
unit, oof, was insanity. I mean, the Powells were so fun to watch, dude. You know, I'm just hitting on. Oh, dude, Damian Davis, dude. That guy was insane lockdown defenseman from Princeton. And I remember specifically him because when we went to the Final Four, his parents were all there, all decked out in Princeton stuff with his name all over it, which was really cool. I'm trying to think if there was like one specific guy coming up that I dug. I mean, I tell you, and it was after my time, you know, but when the Thompson brothers came along, dude, watching those guys and a team like Albany go to the Final Four, that was like a really, really super exciting time for the sport, man. I was just like, this is taking it to a whole other level. Like, it's giving me goosebumps to think about watching those dudes with the one-handed pat. Like, it was just, oh man, these guys are changing the sport. It felt like we were seeing the Gates again, you know?
Yep.
It was really, really cool.
Tony, when people think about like movies and TV shows with lacrosse in it, obviously Crooked Arrows comes to mind. We just saw a clip earlier. Producer Matt showed us from Righteous Gemstones, a women's lacrosse scene. What's the most accurate depiction of lacrosse you've seen in a Hollywood movie or TV show? And is there anyone you can talk to or anything you can do to get us a legit lacrosse movie made?
Well, okay. It's so funny. So I will have to say this. I worked with Sean William Scott, who's on this season of Gemstones. And it's funny. So I have to just share this story real quick. So Sean, obviously, Stifler from American Pie. The first time I ever saw lacrosse in anything. And it was crazy because we were on a recruiting trip for my older brother at Randolph-Macon. And my brother was off doing freshman, you know, pre-fresh stuff. And my dad and I had the night free. And he was like, well, let's go see a movie in this little town in Virginia. And there were like 3 movies out. And he was like, well, this one's a comedy. Let's go see that. And it was so totally off the cuff. And we went and saw American Pie. And I'm a freshman in high school. And dude, it was the coolest thing ever. Not only was it like hilarious comedy, like totally revolutionized comedy, but there was lacrosse in it too. And all the cool
So
kids
sick.
played lacrosse. And so like I shared this with Sean, who was like the sweetest guy on the planet. He was like, oh wow, I didn't even think about that. That's so cool. And obviously the depiction of the sport in the movie is not great. But I guess I haven't seen it enough in enough films. I mean, I think they did an okay job in Teen Wolf, right? Did you guys see that?
I saw the
Saw-
clips.
saw
Yeah,
some
you
of
saw
it,
the
yeah.
clips. We were to see the movie.
I'm still. I'm
That's
still
why we need
Crooked
you to
Arrow-
make one or star in one.
I'm still a Crooked Arrows guy. We need a
Yeah,
Tony
We
in
all
it.
are. That's really it.
Tony, if you were offered the role for Crooked Arrows back in the day, would you have taken it?
Dude, I would have taken anything, man. I was a janitor for 6 years, bro. You would have told me like nude man in just sweater mopping the floor. I would have been like, yeah, dude, cool. As long as
So
I'm
we'll get
getting
you
paid.
Crooked Arrows too.
Dude,
Yeah, we'll
Crooked
get you
Arrows too.
kudos too.
Broken Arrows was so
Um,
iconic. I love that movie. I remember seeing that in theaters when I was a little kid. That was like the sickest thing ever.
Is it Will Sasso who's in that? Who plays the coach in that?
Oh,
Jamison Calester. He's at Hopkins now. Their assistant coach.
Oh, that's cool.
I
Yeah.
think he was the coach of the other team, not the Crooked Arrow.
Oh
No,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
the-
yeah, yeah, yeah.
no,
Not the
Brandon-
main
coach,
coach.
like the
yeah.
rival school coach. guy.
Yeah.
Brandon Routh was the coach.
Oh.
I was thinking of
You're
Gil
Superman.
Birmingham.
Superman. Brandon Routh is He played Superman then. 2000
Really?
Superman. Yeah.
Wow.
always-
Nobody
I always
saw
thought
it.
Wow.
I always thought of him as Scott Pilgrim versus the World in that
Oh,
movie.
also great in
Yeah,
that
yeah.
too. Also great.
So
So
I'm a
this is another cool thing. So if you guys are big Gemstones fans, Scott MacArthur, who plays the Devil in season 1, he's like the bad guy all through season 1. He's in the net cast and he has the devil mask in season 1. He was a D1 goalie at Dartmouth, dude.
No way.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. That's crazy.
Yeah, Scotty. He's awesome. Now he's on that new show. He's on that new show on Netflix with Kate Hudson. But he's one of my really good buddies. Big lacrosse guy. Yes, dude. Plays.
Interesting.
He's a stud.
That's so funny. Any other legends or any other cats in Hollywood that played back in the day you know of?
Scotty's a sneaky one. I'm trying to think who else I played with. So it's funny, dude. I played with this guy, Dave Mendoza, years ago in the Hollywood Lacrosse Club. It was like 2008, 2009. And he was a second unit director. And this is when I was still a janitor. And he would get me gigs doing background work on the movies he was working on. And he actually got me a job doing background on Land of the Lost in like 2009. And
Wow.
Danny was one of the stars
Yeah.
of Land of the Lost. And
That's
so I did
crazy. What a
background
story.
work through a lacrosse guy. Oh, and then yeah, dude, I played with my buddy Joe. I'm blanking on his last name, but he played at Roanoke. Total stud. Ponytail. He lives back in Virginia now. I think he teaches at Roanoke. And
Okay.
he was a executive producer on The Simpsons.
Wow.
Yeah.
Gotta write
Look at
these
this
down.
sport. You gotta love the
DLN
sport.
post.
Guys are everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Joe Busher,
Yep. Joe Boucher.
Boucher.
There we go.
Yep.
French.
So you worked with both of the vice principals, Walton Goggins and Danny McBride.
That's right, dude. That's
Walton
right.
Goggins is one of my all-time favorite
Legend.
actors.
Legend.
Yeah. I'm fascinated. I think that Mitch just did a video with Hoagie where they pretended to be scouts in a YouTube video, scouting
Awesome.
for people, and I love them messing with the lacrosse dads. I've always wondered like how Walton Goggins would be as a lacrosse dad on the field because the amount of like characters he's played.
Yeah.
Just what's he like in real life? Was he more of the Danny McBride route where he was not that crazy on the lacrosse field, or do you think he'd get all in on it?
That's interesting, bro. He's such an intense actor.
Right.
Like the first time I ever met him, my wife and I were walking on the beach in Charleston. This was right at the beginning of season 1. And I see this guy like dancing, like in a bathing suit, kind of coming down the beach. And I was like, oh, that's the guy who's going to play Baby Billy. And I went up to him, and it was Walton. And he never broke character now. Hey, it's no nice to meet y'all. I mean, moving, shaking. He was Baby Billy the entire interaction. He was memorizing lines and was in character and never broke character. So I'm curious if Walton, if he was on the field, if he would be like, if he would have like a lacrosse dad persona.
Right.
Because in real life, he's just the sweetest, like compassionate, really soft-spoken, looks you in the eyes, really intense, but like really great listener,
That would be hilarious if you're just in character at the lacrosse circuit, like never broke character, get into fights and stuff. That's hilarious.
In his
Maybe that's
what
what the movie needs to be about.
Yeah, what were the ankle socks? He's in adrenaline socks.
yes, adrenaline socks.
There's a legendary picture of you in some adrenaline socks back in the day.
I'm sure there are, dude.
Do you ever go around
those.
set too, just like flexing that you're 7th all time at VMI and ground balls? That's a pretty big flex.
No, dude, not as hard as
you can't let the cats forget about that.
Annandale, dude.
I love that.
But every once in a while, like my dad will be like, still in the books.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah.
If some guy breaks it on TV, they're going to show like the past 10 and your name's going to be just lurking at the end.
Yes. It's funny though, like when people find out like, a D1 athlete. Oh, wow. Didn't know, and then it's few and far between out here for people who know what VMI is. But if they know what VMI is, it's like, oh my God, are you okay? Like, have you recovered?
Just grit. I love it.
That's so good.
I love it. Well,
yeah, dude, make sure they have you strain while you're there, Mitch. Ask them what strain is.
The goal would be if I could just like be a cadet for a day. I saw the living conditions, and I'm a pretty gritty guy, but that's a whole different ballgame. I'll be honest. So
I love that,
we'll
dude.
see.
Good luck rolling up your hay in the morning.
I know. One last question before we let you go. We have a segment on here called Start, Bench, Cut. We have to start one, bench one, and cut one. Each week, it's a different edition. This week, it's a FOGO goal, a pole goal, and a goalie goal. I want you to give us your start, bench, cut of those 3.
Well, start is goalie goal.
Oh, is it though? Is a FOGO guy?
Wow.
Interesting.
There's nothing better than that clip of Blaze running down the field and smoking one past the Cornell goalie. Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
If that doesn't get you rock hard, man, come on.
Yeah, I know. Would you say Dick's getting ripped?
Yeah,
let's go.
Dick's skin tight, dude. If that doesn't get you, it doesn't get you peeled and Dick's skin tight. I mean, honestly, dude, like I played a lot of offense, so for me, like I would score goals. So like but I was more like it was old school. Like I wasn't a FOGO back then. I played on the first line. You know what I mean? So so for me, I'm gonna say cut the face-off goal because I just think I think a long pole goal is more exciting, man. I just think it's more exciting. Now there's no bigger juice, dude, than a goal and then a FOGO goal right afterwards, dude. There's
that would be sick.
100%.
Now if you had a goalie goal and then a FOGO goal, then we're talking, dude. Lucky if you survive that. The explosion of fluids after that. Okay, guys, just who's going to take it all this year? Who do we see in the Final Four?
I feel like it's changed so much on the show.
I know.
I mean, I think obviously
Maryland.
It's hard.
Maryland's the front runner right now. We all thought Notre Dame at the beginning. We don't really know about that right now.
I'm still taking them.
Our Buckeyes are looking good. So
They are
potentially in the mix too if they win their conference. So
it's okay.
You never know.
Don't have to say that, but I'd be so excited if they made it to the tourney, dude. Like that would be
it would be sick.
incredible
it'd be
for the
sick.
school. It's just so
VMI
hard
to
to
championship
recruit
weekend.
there.
It's a super winnable conference.
I
Yeah, it
think,
definitely is super winnable.
I mean, Maryland looks amazing. They're going to be there for sure.
Yep.
I think Penn State's going to be there. I think Cornell's going to be there. I don't know about that fourth one, man. Ohio State looks so good, dude, the last few weeks.
I know, they look good. Yeah.
And then
It's hard to
It'll be
project,
interesting.
though, because a lot of it comes down to the bracket at the end of the year, which
Yeah.
obviously we can't say now. Like the matchups and stuff is every game's a grind, so it kind of depends what
but I
bracket and
kind
what
of
seed you get.
love how the season's been so far, man. It's been so besides Maryland, everybody else, it's been kind of up in the air. It's been really fun. Q's is so fun to watch. North Carolina is so fun to watch.
Right.
Ohio State, Hopkins. I mean, there's so many fun ones, dude. It's been Saturday mornings here in California have been fun for me. I'm just like on the elliptical, changing.
Oh, wow,
between
that's
my
Oh my
games.
God, 9 a.m.
That's
Lax. I didn't even
awesome.
think about that.
Out in
great.
Cali, your lacrosse
Oh
day is
my
over by noon. You
God.
got the whole afternoon to do whatever you
Dude,
want. You get
that's
relaxed
so
in the
amazing.
morning.
sick.
That's
Yeah,
like
so you have
EPL
your whole-
soccer for us.
Dude, I line it up so it's like my rest day is Saturday, and so I just literally sit on the Peloton or on my elliptical, and I've got lax going on 2 phones and the TV.
That's
Let's go.
awesome.
God.
That's how
That's
you gotta
Lax
do it.
rad.
That's how you gotta do it.
That's the equivalent of like a lax house in college.
Exactly.
Just like 19 TVs in the living room, except you're just getting shredded on the Peloton.
Yeah, dude, I've
Swap
got like
the
my
Peloton
drug
for some
dealer
beers in
phone.
the college house.
I've got my
Yeah.
drug dealer phone, my regular phone, and the TV.
God, I love that. That's what it's all about.
I do have one more. Your character, Keith, what position would he play in lacrosse?
Dude, I knew. Okay, I think he'd be a goalie because again, weirdos. You gotta have a big time screw loose to step into that cage, man. And we had a goalie in college who every game day would go out like 3 hours before and like ground himself and walk the fields barefoot and had like this whole like ritual and routine. And I just feel like Keith would be the perfect, like weird, like, dude, is he okay? This poor guy, something's up. Like he fits that perfect mold of like, oh, but he makes some good stops every once in a while. Weird. But he's also so kind. And so like, I don't know, goalies are, screw loose, but I feel like they're also super nice guys for the most part. I think I'd say goalie.
Okay. I like that. Towns, we appreciate you coming on. Any last words for us, for the fellas, or for College Lax the rest of this year?
Dudes, just go out there and be a service. Spread the joy, baby. Spread the love. Let's all just be nice to each other on and off the field. Like, for the love of the game, man. Every time I get out there and get to play, even at this age and whatever level, I'm just like, oh my God, this is so great. I get to be out here and doing this thing and move my body around. And so let's just let's keep that sportsmanship, that the joy of getting to play. I mean, it's called playing for a reason, man.
100%. 100%. Well, let's finish off. Tell the fans, where can they see more of you? What do you have going on online?
Yeah, dude. So obviously you can check out my IG for anything coming up, but I had a really cool independent feature that I'm in and then I executive produced, just come out. It's called Cold Wallet. It's a cryptocurrency thriller. That one's really fun. Steven Soderbergh produced. It's an amazing cast, amazing director. Then, of course, Gemstones every Sunday night. And then this year, I've got a comedy coming out with Simon Rex called Operation Taco Gary's. And then hopefully end of the year, I did a boxing film with Sydney Sweeney. That'll be out.
Ooh, there we go. Tones, we appreciate you coming on. Lax Guy forever. Shout out Big Tony, man. Absolute legend. I think he'd still pick up the stay and rock it. But now, to Mitch's Mailbox, my favorite, I think our favorite maybe segment on here. You guys call the number on your screen. Leave your most heinous take. This week, it's centered around buzzer beaters, overtime game winners with the theme of March Madness. We want you guys to tell us, what was your favorite buzzer beater in college lacrosse in past years? You guys called the number, called in, voicemails. Let's hit it.
Yo, what up, boys? I think the best college lacrosse buzzer beater is High Point beating UNC last year, being down 11-6 at the start of the fourth, to then coming back, winning 12-11. That BTB by fucking Maia, I think it was. Or fuck, I don't even know. Whoever did the BTB to Jack Sawyer, who then did that voodoo twisty shit to get that last second goal to give High Point the victory. That was sick. That's got to be up there with one of the best.
Who remembers that?
That was a pretty good one. He's right. It was Braden Maia backhand, Jack Sawyer, or behind the back, Jack Sawyer backhand finish. And it was a crazy comeback. And I think High Point and UNC, they play this weekend, or it's coming
this
up?
weekend. Yeah, this weekend. So it'll be interesting. I think that's definitely one I think of. Let's go down the line. Do you guys have one off the top of your head?
Yeah, I do.
What do you got?
I want to say it was last year in the quarterfinals. Michigan had a buzzer beater to beat Notre Dame. Oh, you think I'm talking men's lacrosse? No, number one women's respecter here. Women's lacrosse quarterfinals. Michigan wins it. Goes to the semis for, like, I want to say the first time in program history. Buzzer beater at the end. It was pretty sick. That's what.
Yeah,
Love that. Respecter of women.
When I hear,
you see how puzzled Mitch looked? He was like, "Wait, what? Notre Dame?"
Oh, no, I was just like about to fact check you like a dog.
when I hear buzzer beaters, the first thing that comes to my mind is the Syracuse Duke ACC semis, the Donahue to Stotts walk off game winner.
Legendary.
That thing is so iconic. And then I guess it's not a buzzer beater, but I guess it's like a walk off, like the CJ Cospiel right down.
That's mine.
Like that's not technically a buzzer beater, but
that's got to be one of the greatest of all time.
One of the greatest.
It has to be.
Time.
Does that count?
No,
I think it.
That doesn't count.
How?
Sudden death? I mean,
this is literally the opposite.
Yeah, that's
5 seconds into overtime.
It's not a buzzer beater, but like
it
ends the game in a way where it's like you think buzzer beater.
I think it's all the same.
Over. Like, yeah.
No.
Yo, that's one of the craziest things.
But that Stotts to Donahue play was wild.
What do you think, Kev?
I got to give a shout out. This isn't the best ever, but I got to give a shout out to our boy Brett Dobson, who I know is watching. St. Bonaventure won on a buzzer beater this week against Canisius. I'm going to cheat a little for my favorite because it's not college lacrosse, but I got to go 2018 USA to beat Canada at the World Lacrosse Men's Championship.
Classic.
Rob Pannell to Tom Schreiber. That was the greatest buzzer beater of all time. I know it's not college, and that was the question.
I've been saying
but if you're saying overtime games are count as buzzer beaters, then that should count for this exercise.
The whole clock controversy too, where they didn't start it until the goal.
God, I love that.
I want to say, was this? Wait, no. Wait, I want to see. This one might be it. No, it wasn't a buzzer beater, but it was close.
Couple others last year.
Cornell, Syracuse, but that was for 3 seconds.
That's close enough.
Close enough.
You think that counts?
Yeah. That counts. I would count it.
Yeah.
Well, you'd also count 5 seconds into overtime.
Yeah, exactly. A couple others last year, though, that deserves some memory shout out. Remember Remy Reynolds, pole goal, Loyola goes the length of the field. That was overtime, but an overtime buzzer beater to beat Towson. And then also JJ Silstrop from the parking lot in the game opener to send it to overtime against Hopkins. Last year. Denver wins in overtime. He nets the overtime winner as well. Those are a couple great buzzer beaters last year. We need more this year.
Actually, there might be one that I might take. It was Penn Yale 2019 quarterfinals. Was that
was an overtime game?
Was it over? That was overtime.
That was one of the. I was there. That was one of the best lacrosse games I've ever seen.
All right, next voicemail.
This is Jake Pelkey here, longtime viewer and fan. I just wanted to hop off the keys real fast and chime in on one of the greatest buzzer beaters of all time. And there's no debate on this one. The 2009 national championship between Cornell and Syracuse. I mean, Syracuse's comeback with 5 minutes in the fourth quarter to bring it within 1. And then they lose the ball and off the restart, throw the 10-man ride on them, steal it back, BTB, feed to the scorer in the goal. Q sends it to overtime and wins. Nothing else compares. Big dog Pelks out, pencils down, weights up.
Shout out Jake Pelkey. He's on the keys in Excel, just getting wizard in the sheets. That was an electric win. Kev, I feel like you're one of the cats on here that can really attest. Hoagie and I were 9 years old. Where were you when you watched that? What was your reaction like?
I remember exactly where I was. I was at my buddy's house. He was throwing a party. It was Memorial Day weekend, obviously.
Yep.
We were chilling in the basement watching. It was a crazy ending. And to be honest, we were all rooting for Cornell for whatever reason. We loved Max Sebald. But yeah, that was a wild ending. And Dukes just shouted it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was 11 years old. Remember being at the beach club, TV set up in the cabana, watching the games, playing fiddlesticks, and I was the biggest Max Sebald fan of all time. Fast forward 3 years later, we're 14 years old. We're at the Woodstick Classic. Garden City even has it. Max Sebald's there, and I start chirping him for losing that game. Like, could you imagine that? Like, we admire this guy, and then once you become the late 8th grade a-holes, and you're just like, remember when you guys lost that national championship? Like, that stunk. And he's like,
you know what's crazy is
I got it. My friends were.
Rob Pannell was a freshman that year.
Yeah.
And we hopped on a podcast during COVID when I was doing Pelk Talk for a little bit. And he kind of got a little teary-eyed talking about it. He said he would trade any accolade, any championship, any Tewaaraton for that national championship. Wow. And it just goes to show, and thinking now, what do you think a Brendan O'Neill feels just with all the success and accolades he's had? Guys say they do it for their team and want to win a national championship. But, when you're in the spotlight for that long and you have all these accolades, but the big one definitely hurts. Last segment, best segment, start bench cut. You guys know the rules. We have a topic for each week. And we're going to go down the line and everyone's going to give us their start bench cut. Starting out with Fogo goal, pole goal, goalie goal, juice goals, start bench cut. Hoagie, as a Fogo, what's your start bench cut for juice goals?
Oh, 100% with the juice goals. You're starting the Fogo goal. That's the greatest goal in lacrosse right there. For a multitude of reasons. When you score a goal, next faceoff, you have the faceoff guy come right down the middle and right down Main Street and put one down. That is ultimate juice. The defense is like, how do we let a faceoff guy score on us? I consider it almost a free goal when an offensive player or someone.
Don't let the fans forget, too. You have one Division I goal on the records. What was the celly after?
I gave one of the fist pumps. I didn't even.
Just a fisty, okay.
Out. Yeah, I did.
Interesting.
Fisty, so.
Yeah, interesting.
Starting the Fogo goal, I'm gonna bench the pole goal. I love the pole goal. The pole goal is great, especially in transition. The pole goal is great for a multitude of reasons. I feel like whenever the poles shoot high, it looks like they blew the net 5 yards off the crease. So the pole goal is always electric, and the poles usually have some sick celly afterwards.
Yeah,
and I'm 100%. Cutting the goalie goal. And the reason I'm cutting the goalie goal is because, one, I think it's a little watered down now with the 10-man ride. It's not as exciting as the Blaze Reardon days when he used to take it down and score. And two, it's way more prevalent than it used to be. Now it's so many teams are 10-man riding. They're leaving the net open. I feel like it happens every week. Starting Fogo goal, benching pole goal, and see a goalie goal.
No, 100%. I'll go second now because I feel like I always go last and it kind of gets undermined. But I would say I'm starting the pole goal. At the end of the day, a pole goal coming down the midfield line, that point guy's not sliding, bingo. It does feel like the net does get ripped. I'm going to bench the Fogo goal because I think it's electric, especially I remember playing at Ohio State. You had Matt Fritz and some of these guys, and even Hoagie try to go down and score, and if it happens, the bench is erupting. And I'm cutting goalie goal as well. I just feel like nowadays it's so watered down. And the days of Blaze doing it, or even shout out fellow Buckeye Christian Tome. We just saw that NAIA. I just think it's watered down with the 10-man ride. I do think there might need to be some NCAA rules with the 10-man ride. We can talk about that in another episode. But Kev, what do you got?
I disagree with you guys. I'm starting the goalie goal. It's by far the most electric. When you say it's watered down, there's maybe a goalie goal every week. There's a Fogo goal and a pole goal, at least one every game. So I think we need to reset the expectations on goalie goals. I will say, though, it is usually the defense's fault when the goalie scores. I'm going to bench the Fogo goal. And the reason I have it above a pole goal is because Fogo goals, when you're talking about juice goals, they have the back-to-back aspect. You can score and then score another goal. There's maybe no more momentous switch when you get two back-to-back goals and one of them's a Fogo goal. And then I'm going to cut the pole goals only because I think that poles have evolved to such an extreme level that so many of them are now offensive threats. You look at Jake Pacino last year, Ben Weyer this year. it's not that weird to see a Pole score anymore. Just this weekend, we saw AJ Pilot from X come around and score a goal. So, and he's a close defenseman. So I'm starting goalie goals, benching Fogo goals, and I'm cutting the Pole goal. Sorry, Alex.
Also, I just want to do a quick correction to Mitch's old teammate. I don't know why Mitch said NIAA. He was D2.
Yeah, D2. Well, he has played at a lot of schools.
D2 is real, Mitch. D2 is real.
Easy. I made a video about it. He went to Ohio State, then went to Jacksonville, then wasn't playing college lacrosse, then went to Kaiser, and now he's at Belmont Abbey. So
yeah, I just wanted to shout him out. Just I know.
The legend, Christian Tomei.
You know, if we want to talk about just a one slap knockout, Christian Tomei would, potentially put Dukes in a full Nelson in under 3 seconds.
It wouldn't be pretty.
Can we put producer Matty Ice pop a picture of Tomei shirtless and pop a picture of Dukes shirtless side by side, and we'll get that going. Dukes, finish us off here on this beautiful episode 8.
I'm going. I'm going to take out the factor of the 10-man ride goalie goals. Because then we're going to have to include.
That's what the goalie goals are nowadays.
Right, because then we're going to have to include pole goals that also go like full length of the field for like the 10-man ride. It's one of the same. I'm thinking of this across the midfield line goals. All of them like from the restraining box in. A goalie goal from the restraining box in is one of the coolest things in lacrosse. It gets the people juiced. I'm going goalie goal start. Second, I'm going pole goal. There's something about when a pole goes high to high, steaming past the goalie. It's cool. It gets the guys juiced. You don't really expect like the defenders, like the lanky defender who like is running down the field who never gets his chance to score. That might be his one goal of his career. I love that. Face-off goals, very juicy. They get the people juiced up. When I see someone like Hoagie running down, I'd be fired up for that guy. But it just doesn't really do it for me. I think they happen way too often.
Yeah, I feel that.
It does. I will say though, when it is when you're on a run in a game, like a 3-0 run, and the Fogo gets that extra goal, there's a contingent where like when you're on a run and a Fogo adds to that run, it's the juiciest goal in lacrosse.
100%. Just think about last
year. On its own, I don't like when it's just like they score and then the Fogo scores, like you score. I don't
yeah,
know.
The Fogo goals to me, the free goals, they're arguably some of the biggest goals in the game. Think about last year in that quarterfinal game, Duke Maryland. Duke went up 3 goals on 2 different instances, and Luke Weirman came down and cut it to 2 just like that. Momentum Duke, bam, goal.
Yeah, like I see Jack.
Those goals are backbreakers for defenses, juice goals for offenses, and they're free goals. They keep teams in them. I think Fogo goals are massive, and who doesn't like a Fogo goal? I mean, come on.
Jack Cascaden scores one like every single week for Cornell.
Yeah.
Also, I want to say, look, talking about Weirman, before we end the episode, it is fascinating that in real time, we didn't know how good of a goal scorer he would be in his career, and he's probably one of the best face-off athletes to play on the offensive, like be an offensive threat as well. Would you say so, Hoagie?
Yeah, 100%. He was
how he missed that shot against
instant offense throughout his career. He did
Hoagie,
a great job.
As potentially one of the biggest lax rats that's newly on Twitter, surprisingly, but a fan favorite. Who is the best Fogo shooter of all time?
Shooter of all time. Wow. I mean, I think the game has really evolved since the beginning of the shooter.
I think some would say Kyle Harrison.
I think Trevor Baptiste is an underrated Fogo shooter. Trevor's low-key got a hammer, and he showed that a lot in the PLL. He has.
Yeah, dude, he has a hammer,
Trevor has a hammer, and he's a threat in the offensive end. I'm going to go with Trevor.
Yeah, dude, you just keep talking about that hammer.
I think that just shows. We'll see you guys next Wednesday at 9. Peace.